In this video today, Mitch McConnell finally is calling it quits. Kash Patel has been confirmed. The media is losing it over Trump's executive order ending federal funding for illegal aliens. We're going to talk about all of this in this video, but let's hear what Mitch McConnell had to say right before Kash Patel got confirmed.
To the distinguished members of this body, I've had the privilege to lead, and I remain deeply, deeply grateful. Today, however, it's appropriate for me to speak about an even deeper allegiance and even longer standing gratitude. 7 times, my fellow Kentuckians have sent me to the Senate. Every day in between, I've been humbled by the trust they placed in me to do their business right here. Representing our Commonwealth has been the honor of a lifetime. I will not seek this honor an 8th time. My current term in the Senate will be my last.
Now, that was a snippet of his entire speech, but the bottom line is this. This is a long time coming. He should have retired 20 years ago. You guys know how I feel about this. I'm a huge supporter of term limits. I just don't believe people that can barely walk, especially when they spend a lot of their time in wheelchairs and they're falling over, off the stairs. It's just not a good look for our leadership. Okay. So there's that. Now, what's interesting is right after that announcement, the vote for Kash Patel came in. As you guys know, he is now confirmed as the 9th FBI director. What's interesting is Mitch McConnell voted yes on him. So who voted no? Listen to this.
Good afternoon, John. Well, Bernie Moreno, the Republican senator from Ohio, just read the vote total, 51-49. Mitch McConnell, the former Republican leader who announced his retirement earlier today, he voted yes. Some people thought he might vote no, but there were 2 GOP no's. You had Lisa Murkowski of Alaska and Susan Collins of Maine. So 51-49. They did not need J.D. Vance here to break a tie in this instance. I should note that this is only the second nominee who's gotten more than one GOP no. You had Mitch McConnell, who's voted, being the only no on the Republican side a couple of times here. You have to go back to Pete Hegseth in late January, who got 3 GOP no's: Collins, Murkowski, and McConnell. And Vance had to break the tie to confirm Hegseth as the defense secretary.
And so when you think about the Republican Party, what's changed so much? It's the people. And the 2 Republicans that voted no today, they're on this list. They will probably be next sooner or later. Now, let's just take a step back and look at all of it. Mitch McConnell, Kevin McCarthy, Liz Cheney, Paul Ryan, Mitt Romney, Adam Kinzinger, Mike Pence, all these people are out. And so Lisa Murkowski, who voted no, Susan Collins, who voted no, and then you got Lindsey Graham and John Cornyn. So I don't know how you guys feel about all those individuals there, but Murkowski and Collins voting no, and Kash Patel, I just think that's a bad look for them. Now, here's what Adam Schiff had to say in a last-ditch effort to prevent Kash Patel from being confirmed, which he utterly failed. Watch.
This is someone we cannot trust. This is someone who lacks the character to do this job, someone who lacks the integrity to do this job. We know that. Our Republican colleagues know that. The only qualification Kash Patel has to be FBI director is that when everyone else in the first Trump administration said, no, I won't do that, that crosses moral, ethical, and legal lines, Kash Patel said, sign me up. In the first Trump administration, as we are seeing in the second, you rise to the level of your sycophancy, and no one is a bigger or more dangerous sycophant than Kash Patel. This political hack does not deserve to be in this building.
Now, clearly, those statements are coming from someone who was censured by Congress for his outrageous statements in that whole Russia hoax, and clearly is not a great example of who should be speaking on qualifications, credibility, whether or not they deserve to be the FBI director. He's the last person we would want to hear from, and he absolutely represents what's wrong with politics and the way that the media likes to report on these stories. Which is why I have on the screen here the way that the media is already talking about this. This is ground news. If you guys want to check it out for yourself, you can go to ground.news/Devori. Now, when you look up a story, it'll give you the summary. And we like using this actually for the show. And so the main talking point from the left is very simple here. It says Democrats have raised concerns about Patel's past statements and alleged enemies list, warning he might seek retribution against Trump's perceived political enemies. Now, of course, we know that's false. And to even make matters worse for these media outlets, look at this title that they are running with. Trump loyalist Kash Patel confirmed as FBI director. Here is another one. Senate narrowly approves Trump loyalist Kash Patel to lead the FBI. No wonder people don't want to listen to the media, because you are so biased within your own titles. Now, just to compare, here is what outlets on the right are saying. Kash Patel confirmed to lead FBI. Senate confirms Kash Patel as FBI director. I mean, I don't see any bias in that. All I'm seeing are facts. And that's what the American people want to get back to, is can you just tell me what it is, and I'll make up my mind for myself. And that's why we do the show the way that we do it. I just want to give you both sides of the argument. You make up your mind on what you think about it, because you have your own opinion just like I do. And this is why I love Ground News, and you will too. So subscribe through my link at ground.news/Devori, or download the mobile app and use offer code Devori for 40% off the Vantage plan, which will give you a limited access to everything that we just covered in this video. And shortly after the confirmation, here's what he said on X. I'm honored to be confirmed as the 9th director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Thank you to President Trump. Attorney General Bondi, for your unwavering confidence and support. The FBI has had a storied legacy from the G-Man to safeguarding our nation in the wake of 9/11. The American people deserve an FBI that is transparent, accountable, and committed to justice. The politicization of our justice system has eroded public trust, but that ends today. My mission as director is clear. Let good cops be cops and rebuild trust in the FBI. Working alongside the dedicated men and women of the Bureau and our partners, we will rebuild an FBI to the American people can be proud of. We will rebuild an FBI the American people can be proud of. And to those who seek to harm Americans, consider this your warning. We will hunt you down in every corner of this planet. Mission first, America always. Let's get to work. All right, so let's move to our next story, which is President Trump yesterday announced that there will be no more federal funding, benefits, or anything of the like going to illegal migrants. This is huge. Of course, progressives are going to melt down over this. But first, let's hear additional details.
Amazing. Meanwhile, how about this? President Trump signing an executive order ending all federal taxpayer benefits for illegal immigrants.
Well, good morning, Ainsley. Good morning, guys. Some eye-opening numbers for you this morning. President Trump's executive order bars illegal aliens from receiving federally funded benefits to the total of $177 billion. And here's a little breakdown for you. It includes $59 billion for Obamacare premium tax credits, $43 billion for the earned income tax credit and the child tax credit, $40 billion for Medicaid and Children's Health Insurance Program, $15 billion for food stamps, $13 billion for children nutrition programs, and $4 billion for the supplemental security income. A lot of acronyms for you this morning. The Federation for American Immigration Reform estimates that federal expenditures on illegal aliens in 2023 total nearly $66.5 billion. This includes more than $23 billion in federal medical expenditures and $11.6 billion in welfare benefits. The Manhattan Institute estimates that every new illegal immigrant has about an average cost about $130,000 to the American taxpayer. A lot of numbers this morning.
This is why it is disturbing when you're seeing the media and the Democratic Party defend spending $67 billion of taxpayer money in order to help illegal aliens, people who broke the law as their first act when they entered the country, not people who were standing in line and doing it the right way. We're talking about people who did it the wrong way. Why are they being rewarded? What about the current American citizens who are doing things the right way? They pay their taxes, they serve their country, right? They're going to work, they're doing everything they can to get ahead. But are they getting a break like these illegal aliens are? No, they're not, of course. Now, I need you to stick around a little longer here and keep watching, because progressives, what their argument is about this executive order is it is stopping funds for illegal aliens who are children, that they're not going to have legal representation. Again, that's their effort to tug on your heartstrings. The fact of the matter is they shouldn't be in the country to begin with. Now, here's what Stephen Miller had to say in response to the progress so far as it pertains to mass deportations.
Is the president happy with the rate of deportations, and are there any plans to speed up the process?
Well, first of all, we all appreciate the encouragement from the media to deport as many illegal aliens as humanly possible. So thank you, and I will promise you that The full might of the Department of Homeland Security, the Department of Justice, the Department of Defense, and every element and instrument of national power will be used to remove, with speed, all criminal illegals from the soil of the United States of America, to enforce final removal orders, and to ensure that this country is for American citizens and those who legally belong in this country. We inherited an ICE that was completely shuttered. We inherited a Department of Homeland Security whose sole mission was to resettle illegal aliens within the United States of America. In 30 days, the president sealed the border shut, declared the cartels to be terrorist organizations, has increased ICE deportations to levels not seen in decades, and we are shortly on the verge of achieving a pace and speed of deportations this country has never before seen. Thank you.
Now, we are witnessing a major shift in regards to U.S. policy between us and Mexico in this entire immigration crisis, right? We've got a president who's designated the cartels as terrorist organizations. When was the last time that happened that you could recall, right? That's the first thing. Secondly, we got the Department of Defense military personnel on the border. And then now what you have is the financial component where the federal government is saying, hey, we're cutting off all money that has anything to do with illegal aliens. So I think this warrants an applause, ladies and gentlemen. Now, here is what Tom Homan also had to say about this.
I, for one, have been complaining about this for decades. I've been doing this 41 years. I started in 1984 in the Border Patrol. And yeah, Clinton and Obama said the right things. They talked the talk, but they didn't walk the walk because the agencies didn't really get into the misuse of these social services, social funding. And President Biden fell off the face of the earth with it. We're in the multi-billions of dollars. And 130,000 of social services per illegal alien, that's more than most Americans make a year in the salary. So it is a major driver. I mean, I'm doing this a long time. I know how many times you hit a load house full of illegal aliens waiting for payment to get released to the people who smuggle them in the country, and how many welfare cards and food stamps and social services envelopes you see all around these homes. It's been going on for decades, and don't thank God for those, because look, these billions of dollars we're going to save that illegal aliens shouldn't be getting, they can help rebuild North Carolina. They can help rebuild California, where they're devastated by these fires. In Kentucky, there's a lot of things we can do for American citizens, the homeless vets, where these billions of dollars are illegally being given to people who aren't supposed to be here.
So clearly people with common sense knows that taxpayer money has been going to illegal aliens, period. But progressives, they have a different perspective, that it's federal funds has been going to attorneys to help undocumented children. That's what the left is going to run with right now in order to, I guess, debate this issue. Is they're not even going to talk about the adults. But let's go ahead and listen to that now.
Historically, what has happened is federal funding has gone out to legal aid organizations to provide legal counsel for children, especially when we started seeing an influx in unaccompanied children coming across the border in 2014. There were children, toddlers with teddy bears in front of judges in immigration courts across this country, Jose. And so federal funds went to nonprofits to allow lawyers to represent those children. Now, what I'm told by a source familiar is that, yes, children can still have lawyers, but if they're not federally funded, those groups are at a significant disadvantage. And without those Know Your Rights presentations and other ways that have historically been funded, it's hard to see how those lawyers and those children are going to get connected. So it's something to watch for if we see more toddlers with teddy bears in those courtrooms.
Indeed, Julia. So what does the law say about immigrants being granted or guaranteed a lawyer?
Well, they're not. It's not the same way as if an American citizen were facing a criminal charge in a U.S. court. They are not guaranteed free legal counsel.
So that would be my direct response to progressives. If you don't want to deal with this type of issue where illegal aliens, I don't care if they're children, adults, teenagers, who are in need of legal representation, the fact of the matter is if you don't want them experiencing or that goes out the window, they shouldn't have crossed the border to begin with. And that's the sticking point in this entire debate. One side doesn't care that they broke the law, doesn't care that they entered the country illegally, and doesn't really care to vet them. And of course, the other side, which I would label common sense, is it's called border security. Now, this next story is going to be entertaining because it was recent that Elon Musk and President Trump confirmed that potential checks from the federal government as a result of the savings from Doge Some are projecting in the amount of $5,000 could be going out to American citizens as soon as next year. However, not all Democrats are in support of this, of course. Here's what Jasmine Crockett had to say.
Now, President Trump says he likes the idea of giving some of the savings from DOGE back to Americans as kind of a dividend. Would you support that?
Listen, he's just telling a lie. He's not the one that had anything to do with the $1,200 refunds that people had during the midst of COVID that was done by a Democratic House and Democratic Senate. Right now, what they're going to do is say, hey, we want to give you a refund, but Congress won't let us because they already know that there's just no money for that. The only reason that those refunds came before was because we were living in different times. So no, we are not in the business of giving out money. And honestly, I don't know what $5,000 will do for you.
Now, I know what a lot of people could do with $5,000, and it's definitely something that is positive. They could pay down whatever debt they may have or buy things that they absolutely need. Now, that's just my initial reaction to that comment that she made. But the overall debate here is this smart for the federal government to hand out $5,000 checks to American citizens as a result of the savings from DOGE? Now, obviously, priority number one, in my opinion, would be the money that is being saved from DOGE should go right back into the federal government to pay down the debt. That is obviously common sense. And that's why the White House has already stated that 80% of the savings would go down to pay down debt and 20% would go back to the American citizen in form of these checks. Now, here's what Speaker Mike Johnson had to say in response to this as well.
The president said that a percentage of DOGE savings could maybe go back to the American people in the form of what he called DOGE stimulus checks, something like 20%. How would that work?
Well, look, I mean, politically, that would be great for us, you know, you send everybody a check, but really, we have to think of it, I think, in a...
That just got everybody's attention, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
I just saw everybody look up all of a sudden. I know.
Yep. But if you think about our core principles, right, fiscal responsibility is what we do as conservatives. That's our brand. And we have a $36 trillion federal debt. We have a giant deficit that we're contending with. I think we need to pay down the credit card. Right? That's what I think we need to do.
I mean, there's two things he said that are true at the same time. Politically, this would be a slam dunk or knock it out of the park type of thing for Republicans. And this would continue to crush Democrats. But also at the same time, it is true that the national debt needs to be addressed in a very serious way. And this is the part that nobody really wants to talk about out loud because politically, it could be suicide. It's going to have to hurt here in the short term for there to be some serious change. I mean, that's just the bottom line. For example, it's going to hurt for federal workers out there who just lost their job today, right? Now they have to rethink how they're going to live, where they're going to live, where they're going to get their next job, even though they are getting 8 months of pay, by the way. But the fact of the matter is, before things can truly change for the better, you're going to have to go through some pain. That's just the way life works. And the federal government, it's no different. Now, here's what Stephen Miller had to say about this.
The way that it works is when you achieve savings, you can either return it to taxpayers, you can return it to our debtors, or it can be cycled into next year's budget, and then it just lowers the overall baseline for next year. So in other words, you can just transfer into the next fiscal window and then lower the overall spending level. And that means that you can achieve a permanent savings that way, and that reduces the deficit.
And when is it that people might see those checks?
Well, this is all going to be worked on through the reconciliation process with Congress that's going underway right now. As you've seen, the Senate's moving a bill, the House is moving a bill. The President has great confidence in both chambers to deliver on his priorities. I would just take this opportunity to note that President Trump has made a historic commitment to the working class of this country to fight for major tax relief and major price relief. And cutting spending, as DOGE is doing, and cutting taxes is the key to delivering on both of those promises. And President Trump is resolutely committed to doing both.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see how they work that out, needless to say. Now, I also want to play you another clip here from Stephen Miller, which I thought would be entertaining for you and me. Here he is responding to the continuous criticism from the left-wing media in regards to Elon Musk, that he's an unelected bureaucrat who is actually the president. So let's take a look at that.
We're hearing this ironic narrative from the president's critics and the left-wing media that Elon Musk is an unelected bureaucrat and he's doing all this terrible stuff. Isn't one of DOGE's objectives to get rid of the federal bureaucracy, the deep state, and also who was running the White House when Joe Biden was in office? Because I don't know a single person who believes it was Joe Biden.
You're tempting me to say some very harsh things about some of our media friends. Yes, it is true that many of the people in this room for 4 years failed to cover the fact that Joe Biden was mentally incompetent and was not running the country. It is also true that many people in this room who have used this talking point that Elon is not elected fail to understand how government works. So I'm glad for the opportunity for a brief civics lesson. A president is elected by the whole American people. He's the only official in the entire government that is elected by the entire nation, right? Judges are appointed, members of Congress are elected at the district or state level, just one man. And the Constitution, Article 2, has a clause known as the vesting clause, and it says the executive power shall be vested in a president, singular. The whole will of democracy is imbued into the elected president. That president then appoints staff to then impose that democratic will onto the government.
So when you hear Stephen Miller say that, what comes to my mind is how consequential Joe Biden actually was as a president. I mean, think about this. He's a guy that has killed legacy media. I mean, you think President Trump did it? I would argue Joe Biden did it, because when he attended that debate, I mean, that was it for legacy media. And then secondly, he pardons his families when he leaves out the door. I mean, this guy, he's done some true damage to the party. And I'm not complaining about it, of course. And so no matter how many times they continue to say that President Trump and MAGA, they are the threat to democracy, the real truth that we are seeing in real time at this point is how the bureaucracy in Washington, D.C. has been the actual threat.
The threat to democracy, indeed the existential threat to democracy, is the unelected bureaucracy of lifetime tenured civil servants who believe they answer to no one, who believe they can do whatever they want without consequence, who believe they can set their own agenda no matter what Americans vote for. So Americans vote for radical FBI reform, and FBI agents say they don't want to change. Or Americans vote for radical reform on our energy policies, but EPA bureaucrats say they don't want to change. Or Americans vote to end DEI, racist DEI policies, and lawyers at the Department of Justice say they don't want to change. What President Trump is doing is he is removing federal bureaucrats who are defying democracy by failing to implement his lawful orders, which are the will of the whole American people. Thank you.
And that's the one thing that the media will always refuse to accept is the will of the people. They have spoken. They do not want their tax dollars paying for illegal aliens. They don't care what it's for. If it's healthcare, if it's legal representation for children, they should not be in the country to begin with. That's the bottom line. And if you don't like it, then what you guys should do is get your act together, get back in power, and then change the law. I mean, it's really that simple. Now, this leads me to the question I'd love for you guys to answer in the comment section below. Do you agree with President Trump signing this executive order that will now stop federal funding for all of these social services in regards to illegal aliens? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Now, speaking of the will of the people and someone who refused to actually adhere to that, we're talking about Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass, who sat down for an interview yesterday that turned into a disaster because she refused to take responsibility for her poor leadership during the fires that broke out in Los Angeles County earlier this year. And so if you guys missed out on that interview and the backlash that happened as a result, all you have to do is click on that video because it's coming up right now.